right. Well, here is Rush Limbaugh, and he's reacting to the Roseanne situation. Now, Limbaugh sort of receded in many respects because he can't. He is, I think, still. He is worried about his advertisers. I think he can't really get out in front of his racist competition. So it's got to be innuendo. And the thing is that for the racists, you know, the whole Trump era has been about being able to express more. And I think Limbaugh feels like he can't quite go there. So you gotta listen somewhat carefully to the dog whistles he's blowing here. I'm being a little facetious. They're almost there. The human ear can hear them. Here we go.
Abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values.
Pause it for 1 second. Now, remember, I want you to also keep in mind, whenever I listen to Rush Limbaugh, I always remember that the conservative ideology begins and almost ends with their sense of aggrievement, right? You cannot express a conservative idea without the undercurrent being aggrievement. Another word for that is victimization, but it's aggrievement. It's aggrievement. Just keep that in mind as you hear this.
That's what ABC said when canceling Roseanne's TV show. That her comment was abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. Hey, it's ABC. They can do whatever they want. Fine and dandy. But what about Roseanne's freedom of speech? What about Roseanne's freedom of speech? What about Colin Kaepernick's freedom of speech? So ABC can can Roseanne, and that's fine and dandy, but the NFL can't say we don't want a malcontent like Kaepernick. The NFL should hire a guy who's going to infuriate the fans by disrespecting the flag in the country. And the left says the NFL should hire that guy. And a Black Lives Matter activist is trying to organize a boycott of the whole season by NFL stars.
Pause it for 1 second. Now, if you have been living under a rock for the past 3 years, you would know that Colin Kaepernick has not been employed by any member of the any NFL team whatsoever. In fact, other people have lost their job in showing solidarity with Kaepernick from the football, and they've been blacklisted as well. But continue.
Stars. And yet here comes ABC, offended by a tweet that Roseanne put out. In case you missed this tweet, what Roseanne said was that Valerie Jarrett is a cross. What you would get if the Muslim Brotherhood got together with the Planet of the Apes. So ABC cancels the show. She's gone, abhorrent, repugnant, inconsistent with our values. But yet, the NFL should hire. They don't have the right. They shouldn't be able to get rid of somebody like Kaepernick or anybody else who's going to infuriate the fan base. Would somebody tell me the difference? And by the way, I am not equating the two. We're talking here about identical laws, philosophies, powers, what have you. We're talking about hypocrisy on the left. The same people who
pause it. Now, wait a second. Pause it. So he's not equating the two statements. And I can't tell if he's saying this because he doesn't want to say her racism is as bad as his protesting racism. That's what he's doing. Or if he's saying, like, I can't tell if he's saying here, oh, yes, well, she tweeted something was racist. And he is just protesting racism. I'm not comparing those two. I'm not saying that's the same. I'm just saying the principles involved with them saying something. Because, of course, for Rush, he knows his audience is okay with the racism, not okay with the protesting racism.
And to organize a boycott of the whole season by NFL stars. And yet here comes ABC, offended by a tweet that Roseanne put out. In case you missed this tweet, what Roseanne said was that Valerie Jarrett is a cross. What you would get if the Muslim Brotherhood got together with the Planet of the Apes. So ABC cancels the show. She's gone, abhorrent, repugnant, inconsistent with our values. But yet, the NFL should hire. They don't have the right. They shouldn't be able to get rid of somebody like Kaepernick or anybody else, who's going to infuriate the fan base. Would somebody tell me the difference? And by the way, I am not equating the two. We're talking here about identical laws, philosophies, powers, what have you. We're talking about hypocrisy on the left. The same people who are applauding Bob Iger getting rid of Roseanne are the same people ripping the NFL for not hiring Colin Kaepernick. Now, what's worse to you? What Roseanne said about Valerie Jarrett and Planet of the Apes and Muslim Brotherhood, or a guy that refuses to acknowledge the flag and the country? What's worse?
Yeah, I
definitely going with.
I
Ape
know
joke
where
on this
his
one.
audience is going with that, and he is, of course, equating the two. And the idea that the left can't be upset because the NFL is blacklisting a guy for protesting racism, but that's somehow hypocritical is just absurd.
At some point when we go to these free speech trenches from the left or right, whether it's for Kaepernick or for Roseanne, wouldn't you wonder, if you're a conservative, why am I always getting in on the side of somebody saying something racist, and they're saying something in defense of someone saying in social justice?
I would add,
Because
it's perfectly within the rights of the NFL to hire and fire whomever they want in this regard. No one's made this is not a free speech argument. It is simply an opinion that people have. No, has anybody brought up any legislation saying that oh, wait a second. No, the president of the United States has been the only, the most powerful government official to put pressure on the NFL owners. So if there's any chilling of free speech that's going on, it has come from Donald Trump, right? Forcing them to do stuff like this, locker room thing. So, but Rush Limbaugh needs to both sort of thread the needle here and encourage his racist listeners.